This is ABC 7 News at 4:30.
Can you take this thing lightly? Absolutely not, because the pain and the wounds are still reopened.
People sharing their frustrations over the desecration of their loved ones' graves at Burr Oak Cemetery. Some of them testified today before a congressional subcommittee looking into the regulation of the nation's cemeteries.
Well, in addition to family members, funeral industry experts told the members of that subcommittee that state and federal governments must play a greater role watching over cemeteries like Burr Oak. ABC 7's Paul Meinke attended today's hearing, and Paul's joining us with more on what was said there.
Alan, Linda, Burr Oak Cemetery is within Congressman Bobby Rush's district, and he called for today's congressional subcommittee hearing. Rush and other committee members believe that what happened at Burr Oak could easily occur at other cemeteries around the country, and that the best way to prevent that is through the power and authority of the federal government.
Currently, there are no federal minimum standards for the operation of cemeteries. Do there need to be?
Congressman Bobby Rush clearly believes the answer is yes, that cemeteries do need federal oversight. Roxy Williams agrees.
How do I tell my son, who is now 16, about a grandfather, and I cannot even take him to his last resting place?
Roxy Williams' father, a veteran, is among those whose remains may have been dug up and moved at Burr Oak Cemetery. And like many others, Roxy wonders how it could have happened and what must be done to prevent a similar agony at a cemetery somewhere else.
This is a fractured and sometimes even contradictory system of rules.
This congressional subcommittee today heard much of what it already knows, that only 10 states exercise some form of oversight when it comes to cemeteries, and much of that oversight is at best weak and inconsistent.
There needs to be a culture of accountability in cemeteries that is woefully lacking.
7 years ago, after a Georgia crematorium was found to be dumping bodies, there were calls for federal oversight of cemeteries and crematoria, but it did not happen.
We do not need federal oversight.
There is opposition to the concept of federal oversight from cemetery and funeral home associations who believe that what happened at Burr Oak and in Georgia were aberrations, that there is sufficient oversight already if the laws were enforced, and that 85% of the nation's cemeteries are nonprofit or church-owned and would be beyond the purview of federal oversight.
So it would be unfair to just regulate one small segment, and it would increase prices. There's no question about it, because they would be regulated, the others wouldn't.
But what happened at Burr Oak caused such agony, the members of the subcommittee say there will be legislation calling for federal oversight of cemetery operations nationwide.
We're not claiming that this would be easy, but it's certainly necessary, and there's a lot of determination that this would happen, that we can pass some federal legislation.
Building a piece of legislation that is fair, effective, and passable could be challenging, but Rush says the federal government, at the very least, should adopt minimum standards for proper cemetery record-keeping, burial care, and consumer protection. And while far from being drafted yet, Rush says the legislation will be called the Bereaved Consumers Bill of Rights, and we'll see where it goes.
See what happens.
Okay.
All right, thanks very much.